Joining me now is Craig Mackinlay, Conservative MP for South Thanet. Thank you very much, Craig. Look, I do think that the overbearing headline, as it's been treated by the vast majority of our media, that Rwanda is far too expensive and would be better keeping them all here, putting them up in the Ritz and sending them to Eton, is a little bit disingenuous.
Yeah, completely. I mean, your introduction there, I think, covered the points quite well. Because the whole idea about the Rwanda policy, I've never been a great fan of the Rwanda policy, but it's the only tool we've got left in the box. I mean, I've got a toolbox at home. I haven't got a great set, and you have to make things fit from time to time. The French haven't been stopping the beach launchings, as we've asked them to do, as we've paid them to do, with seemingly any amount of money they need. That hasn't actually stopped the flow, done some of it, of course. The whole idea about Rwanda is deterrence, so that, yes, the cost is high, 169,000, are the wooden dollar accounting that's been put forward today. If two of those are sent to Rwanda, but it deters three, you're ahead of the game. We've actually saved money. But the reality is, Patrick, is that we are literally running out of hotels. And you can just imagine when we start having to put up marquee tents and all the rest of it, because there's no hotels left, you will have the same lawfare lawyers, the ambulance chasers, claiming human rights abuses against people who have been having to live under canvas, as it were, because there's nowhere else, and we'll be going right back to square one again. But you're quite right to add in what I call the capital cost of people coming to the UK. It's not just the revenue cost, i.e. They're putting them up in hotels. One point I have to make, why on earth does it take 4 years to process somebody? Yeah. But we'll set that aside as an argument and a discussion point for another day. But yes, there is a capital cost. As you've got an increasing population, families come over, you've got education costs, health costs, housing costs, new roads and all the rest of it, which has to be built on the back of increased accommodations. And that is very rarely factored in, very rarely factored in. A report I read is that per person additional in the UK can cost up to another £250,000. So if the Rwanda stops and does the deterrent effect, and just putting myself into the minds of a potential migrant, the prospect of coming to the UK and then getting sent to Rwanda, or staying in France, Germany, Greece, or wherever else you've passed through, I think that may be more appealing.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting sick and tired of everybody saying no to everything. Oh, well, we can't possibly turn the boats back. That would be inhumane. Or we can't possibly keep them in detention centres. That would be inhumane. Or we can't possibly deport actual criminals to countries of their own origin because that would be inhumane. We'll let some of them stay and then kill people on the streets over here. Or we can't possibly send people to Rwanda. I mean, that's a ridiculous thing to do. All right, OK, well, what is your solution? Because at the moment, the solution is to make the British taxpayer pay for everything and share their resources with a load of people who, frankly, they don't know.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, we are pussyfooting around this debate. I've had enough of pussyfooting around this debate. I think the British people have had enough of pussyfooting around this debate. Now, I put forward a plan. You'll like this one, Patrick. I think we have about 60 Chinook helicopters in the UK. So let's assume they're all working. We've probably got 50 of them. I would have them, one of them on the beach in Dungeness. So when the RNLI boat turns up, they go on the Chinook and they're just hoofed straight over the channel back to a sand dune in France. And we say, well, France, this was the deal that we had, that you'd stop these people. These are the few that you missed. I guarantee you, Patrick, this trade would be disrupted in a week and this problem would cease. What we've got, we're at the tail end of failure. We've got the tail end of failure of Frontex, an EU border force, stopping people coming in the first place. We've got a failure of the whole Schengen zone, that once you're in one country, you can just go as you please. And go from Greece to Belgium or France without a buy nor leave. And then we have this problem of ECHR and all the rest of it, where we seem to be bound in anything we try and do. Other countries don't do this. I'm the chairman of the APPG for Hungary, and listening to what they do over there on the Serbian border, if people get across, they are escorted back to the gate and pushed through and said, you don't have any validity here. You're back in Serbia. There doesn't seem to be ECHR cases or the lawfare or nonsense that we're seeing here. I'm afraid it's time for some tough and very straight talking.
No, they don't mess about at all. Do you think it's time for a public vote on this? Because we're getting nowhere fast, and I suspect if the public were asked to vote on whether or not they wanted their taxpayers' money spent, around £169,000 per person in the short term of it, sending a few people to Rwanda as a deterrent, or they wanted the continual, never-ending, ongoing cost of what's currently going on in the Channel and nothing being done about it, then I suspect that they would come down quite heavily on the side of Rwanda. And I think that that would put a lot of people back in their box, Craig.
Well, I think you're right, but I don't think actually need a referendum on this. I think the answer is very, very clear. I know it from my email inbox as a parliamentary MP in South Thanet that people are sick to death of this. And when we talk about the escalation of cost to potentially 30-odd million pounds a day, if we have a rate of progress of people coming in, that amounts to 11 billion a year. And let's just put that into context. We spend 17 billion a year on policing. So we're talking about a potential cost of 2/3 of policing.
Yeah.
And let's get it into real perspective. I've had enough of it. People have had enough of it. It's time for some tough action. And I'll say again, Patrick, I cannot understand how France can project military power to an entire country called Mali in West Africa, but seems virtually incapable of patrolling plus or minus 3 miles from Calais.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I would also extend that notion to us now. We seem able to prop Ukraine up in a proxy war with Russia, but we are unable to patrol that little bit of water. And in fact, one of the key issues, it would appear as well, a story that I'm doing later, apparently our lifeboat service, you'll love this, Craig, they're not diverse enough. There's an alpha male culture there, and they're going to be sent on courses. Well, I'm sorry, but the amount of people that they're picking up in the channel, I would suggest that they are quite pro-diversity. They seem to be very, very good at bringing people over to this country. But can we factor in some of the other costs as well? Because this is a discussion about value for money, and I want you at home to get in touch with me now, gbviews@gbnews.com. In light of this new report today that shows that it would, in the short term, cost more money to send people to Rwanda than it would to process them here over a course of 4 years and put them in hotels. It cost around 60 grand more. If you looked at that metric, can we factor in some other costs, Craig? 300 million quid was supposed to be a big regeneration project around the Scampton area. That would have brought in with it tourism. That would have brought in with it a load of stuff for the local community. That's been wiped out because of that. We're going to have ongoing hotel and accommodation costs of around £11 billion. We've got our public services that will be absolutely crippled as well. You're not building a new GP surgery in the same area that you are plonking 1,000 new asylum seekers. You are not building a new school. You're not building it anywhere near like enough housing. And on top of that, we are also allowing around 1.2 million people to come to this country legally. And I'm sorry, but you can't put a price on the loss of culture, Craig, and that is something that will go down the toilet as well. When you add all of that up, we are paying too much as it is, aren't we?
No, there's no doubt at all. I mean, just putting the illegal migration aside, the cross-channel ones, giving out over 1 million visas last year, and a net increase in population of 600,000, I think it stands to reason that we then have a housing problem, we have a rental problem, and we have problems in public services. I mean, it doesn't need the wisdom of Solomon to come to that conclusion. We need to look at why we've got so many being offered a visa, and a lot of it is on the back of, there's jobs to be filled and all the rest of it. But I still struggle with that when we've got 5 million people on a form of benefit and over 1 million jobs still available. So, let's match those up first. If we've still got a shortage of skills, then, of course, that's the time to look abroad. But I think we're a long way away from that. But, we really ought to look at the capital cost of what it really does cost to have people in the UK. Because it's a real cost over time. It's all very well people saying, well, there's a revenue improvement because people go to work, pay tax, all the rest of it. That's still a big shortfall on the overall cost of huge immigration numbers. And we need that debate. We need that debate, and I'm happy to have it. Yeah,
well, we're very much happy for you to have it right here. But, Craig, thank you very much. Craig Mackinlay there, Conservative MP for South Thanet. We'll return to that topic later on. Get your views coming in, gbviews@gbnews.com. Get more on this story on our website, gbnews.com, the fastest-growing national news site in the country. Best analysis, big opinion, all the latest breaking news.